watch
How?
this?
How?
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 How? Ew,
How do you watch this? Dude, I'm gonna pee my pants.
Hi, this is How Do You Watch This? A movie review podcast where each week we give each other a movie to watch in the genre we love, but they don't. My name is Demi, and I love horror.
My name is Megan, and I love romance.
And this week's common thread is...
Halloween!
Of course. Of course, we're going to choose Halloween.
I feel like it was so obvious. Maybe not with Hell House, but with Practical Magic for sure. Hell House, I feel like it's just generic spooky spooks.
And it's on Halloween.
Oh no, you're so right.
Yeah.
You know what? I think no, it wasn't on Halloween.
It was
October 8th.
Okay, yeah, but it was a Halloween haunted house.
No, you're right. I'll allow it. It's seasonal.
Well, you saw the Halloween movie. Well, not all of them, but like the ones worth watching.
Yeah, fair enough.
So I wanted to go something a little different for you. So.
That would have been too on the nose.
Yeah. So maybe next time we'll see.
Mm-hmm. For this week, I had Demi watch the movie Practical Magic with, again, Sandra Bullock. I didn't realize it was a double back-to-back Sandra Bullock until I was writing the snapshot.
It's so funny because I was going to do that to you with Nicolas Cage.
Oh my god.
So I was going to choose The Wicker Man for The Island, but I could not find it for free. And I'm like, I'm not going to ever have to rent out another
I have had to
movie.
rent out like the past couple. Yes. I'm like, why are all these movies we're choosing not for streaming? I have like every streaming money service. Yeah.
So I didn't want to do that to you,
Thank
but
you.
then I ended up
it.
getting Sandra Bullock twice, so it was funny.
Yeah.
But I mean, we love her.
Yeah. She's the best.
Of course.
She's the romance queen.
Romance queen, even though this movie...
Okay. Go ahead. But before you talk
about my thoughts, but anyway, my movie
okay.
Megan was House LLC, which I know now is a
limited liability something. Yeah.
Stupid. But it's a found footage. Kind of I think more of a popular one now. A lot of people are.
Is it?
Yeah. Okay. So in the horror world, you're like, oh, you gotta watch Hell House. And it's pretty cool. I think it was pretty cool. So an origin movie's coming out soonish. So maybe we can watch that together.
Okay.
Depending on how you review this.
Yeah, we'll see what you think. I was not expecting the eyes you just gave me when you were talking about Practical Magic. I thought you were gonna enjoy it.
I thought I was too.
Because there's elements. There's true crime.
Yeah.
There's romance.
Sandra Bullock,
there's
Nicole
Sandra
Kidman,
Bullock.
Witches.
Okay, I'm very.
It had everything.
I'm so curious.
Practical Magic is a fantasy romance. Director
it has fantasy in there. Okay, that makes sense. I guess there's witches.
Yeah, they're technically fantasy, I guess.
Yeah, it just doesn't feel very like when I think of fantasy, I'm like dragons.
Yeah, like elves,
you know. Yeah.
Director Griffin Dunne. Year of release 1998. Snapshot: two sisters, Sally and Jilly, are part of a family.
Is it Jilly or is it? Wait, no, it's Jilly. It is Jilly. Sorry, I keep interrupting you with literally nonsense.
Well, please. I thought it was Gilly too, but it is Jilly. Sally and Jilly are part of a family of witches with a curse, which gives them shit luck with men. Jilly gets into some trouble, which forces Sally to get out of her comfort zone and possibly find love? Question mark? Oh no, we'll find out. Okay, so movie starts. There's a narrator, and they're talking about the Owens family and how they've been blamed for everything for over like 200 years. And so the image being shown is a woman that's going to be hanged, and it's kind of like Salem witch era. Everyone's dressed that way. And so she is pretty much the first witch. And so she survives by magic. She kind of like jumps off the hanging thing. Yeah,
so that like the rope like magically
snaps.
And
it snaps and everyone freaks out and runs, which is fair. Like, okay, she's definitely a witch. So she's like survives, and she was like pregnant, and she was pretty much waiting for the father of her child to like return. He never did. So she casted a spell on herself to help with the pain, but he eventually turned into a curse because of like her bitterment throughout the time. And so this became a curse which affected all of the women in the Owens family. And so it affects any man who dares love an Owen woman. So I guess if you love a non-identifying man, they're fine.
I guess so.
Yeah, don't love a man, I guess.
Yeah.
And then you're good. So anyway.
But that's true. You're right.
They only say men.
Yeah. No, you're right. Maybe if you were,
Yeah.
Well, they didn't explore that. That's I guess
they
that was
didn't
a little bit
explore a lot in this movie, Megan.
for them. No, I know.
So it cuts to a scene of the parents of the two main characters. They're on the beach, they're all happy, and then the woman hears the sound of a death watch beetle. And this means if you hear the sound, that means that the man you love is set to die. We don't know how he dies, but now the two daughters are living with the aunt. We find out that the mother died of a broken heart. She should have known this shit was coming.
Right.
No surprise.
Right.
Just fuck it, whatever. Just die. Leave your daughters. So the aunts are really nice. You know, they're very typical witchy single ladies.
Yes.
But the daughters are like bullied. Kids are throwing rocks at them. And they're saying,
chanting, witch, she's a bitch.
Yeah, witch,
You're a bitch. Yeah.
Stupid. Very mean. And they just want to like, you know, be normal, but obviously they're not. And so Sally seems to have more skills in magic than Jilly. And, you know, this is while they're kids. So they're watching their aunts, and their aunts seem to help other women with like love and stuff. And they're watching their aunts help this woman, and she's in love with a man, but he's married. And so they're like casting a spell, and includes like stabbing like a pigeon.
Yeah. Pretty horrible.
Yeah. And so like this woman's very like emotional, and she's like, I want him to want me so bad that like he can't stand it.
Yeah.
And so Sally's pretty much like, I hope to never fall in love. And Jilly's like, I can't wait to fall in love. Okay, girl. And then so the next scene, Sally as a child is creating a love spell, and she's like, he's gonna have one green eye and one blue. He's gonna be like good at flipping pancakes, and he can ride a pony backwards, forwards, sideways, all these like weird things.
Yes.
And Jilly's like, what are you doing? And so she said she's creating the perfect dream man, and he's so perfect, like he doesn't exist.
Yeah.
And so she can never fall in love and die of a broken heart.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fair?
Yeah.
Great. And so she casts this spell, and then it time skips, and the girls, they're older, they're women now. Jilly is leaving with a random man. She's like very excited. And so, you know, Sally's like upset, but they make like a blood oath to each other.
Yes.
They cut on their hand. And,
put their hands together and they say a chant, and it basically connects them in a way where not like that they have a telepathic communication, but they're able to sense one another.
Right.
And kind of like if they're in danger or if they miss each other or whatever, they get this like feeling.
Right. Yeah. So it kind of keeps them connected during this whole time that they're separated. And they seem to be separated for a bit. Sally's living with the aunt still. Jilly's out doing her thing. All the people are just avoiding. So they live in this like pretty small town. They're all like avoiding the aunts because they, you know, hear rumors on who they are, and they're witches and stuff, and they do weird shit. And as they're walking, this man kind of is looking at Sally, and Sally's like looking at the man, and the one aunt kind of stares at him for a bit, and it's like a little weird. And so a little bit later, the aunts are kind of like looking at the time, and they're like being like a little weird, like something happened. And then like the clock goes off, and Sally suddenly like gets up, and she starts walking away, and the aunts are like, oh, like where are you going? She's like, I have to go somewhere. And so Sally like runs into like the square where that man was at, and the man's also like looking at her, and she's like running, and they like she like jumps on him, and they start like making out, and I'm like, okay,
yeah.
So
it's like 0 to 100,
right? So you find out later that the aunts casted a spell on Sally to like pretty much like kind of like fall in love, because Sally was very like didn't want to, which is fair. Right. Like I feel like this whole curse thing they just don't take seriously. It's like if you end up liking someone, they're dead, like if they're a man. So it's like, why would you want to?
Right.
But so they force this poor girl. So anyway, she's
so but basically what they do is the spell that they had done was just supposed to be an attraction. So she would be able to like enjoy every aspect of being alive and experience some of that joy. But they did not think she would fall in love. And I wonder if in their mind, if she didn't fall in love, if like he wouldn't die if she wasn't in love with him.
I guess it's because then it's like any man who loves an Owen woman. So it's like, is it the man who like his love for her, or
is it her love for him? Yeah.
Never explained.
No, it's not. It's almost like time travel in About Time. There's a lot of gaps, you know.
Yeah. So they are married, and they have 2 kids together. So it's like 3 years later. Sally's pretty much writing this to Jilly. Jilly is out partying dudes by the pool. She's completely different vibe. She's living single life. And she meets someone named Jimmy Angelov.
Yeah.
And so then it cuts to Sally, and one night Sally hears like the beetle. And so like in the morning, she still like hears it. She's trying to like hunt it down. She's freaking out. The husband headed into town. No, so stupid. He's headed to town, and so like, first all these bikers start coming in, and I'm like, is he really gonna get killed by bikers?
Yeah.
So these bikers come in, and like the Beetle stops for a second, and the bikers are kind of like avoiding him, and it's like, oh great. And then like a few seconds later, a fucking truck comes out of nowhere and just kills him.
Yeah.
First of all, it's a small town. I'm like, this truck didn't see this man just standing there after all the ridiculous. Yeah. Anyway, he dies. Lame.
And Sally tore up every board in the house.
To try and get to this Beetle. Did not work out. And so she's devastated because she loved him, and the aunts were like, oh, we didn't expect you to love him. And Sally's like pissed off because she finds out that they did that to her.
Yeah, and she wants them to bring him back to life.
Yes. And they're like, we can't, they're like, that type of magic will never bring someone back who they were. Like, they're gone.
It warps you. It's, right.
It's
we never do that magic.
Black magic. Evil magic.
Yeah.
So they end up moving. So Sally and her 2 daughters move in with the aunts. At first, Sally's like, I don't want them to know anything about magic. None of it like that. So then it jumps back to Jilly, and she's with this Jimmy guy, and he's kind of like sleazy, but she's a little sleazy too, so they kind of like work.
Yeah.
But then she like goes to go to the bathroom, and she has like his liquor bottle, and she puts something in it, and so you just see that she puts something in it, and like that's it. And then she ends up, I guess, visiting Sally. They don't explain if she was there physically or not. I couldn't tell.
Yeah, you're right. They don't say that.
Yeah,
but I assumed it was like an actual physical visit. But you're right.
It seemed like
been something else.
I don't know. She ends up going to Sally because she finds out what happens, and Sally's like locked herself in her room. She's depressed, obviously. So Jilly tries to like, make her feel better and stuff. And so Sally was talking about how she was gonna open up a shop, like oils and
like that was their future.
Yeah.
The two, her and her husband, were gonna have like this apothecary style store.
She ends up doing that. She gets out of her slump thanks to her sister showing up and being there for her. She opens up the shop. She notices that her daughters are getting bullied. The one daughter like hexes one of the bullies by like not accident, but like
but like not intentionally doing it.
Right. So it's obviously girls are kind of learning about the magic. I don't think the aunts listened at all. So
no.
And
which
then,
also like I also understand like they do deserve to know, like especially if they have, if there's elements of it that they don't have control of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
no,
you need to know how to control that.
Right. And then to not know about this curse either.
Yeah.
It's like cool. So I think it's fair for them to know exactly what's going on. So then Sally's writing a letter to Jilly and pretty much saying that she like wants to be loved, but she feels like her hope for happiness is over. Like there's no hope for her. But then like as she like goes to send out this letter, she gets a phone call and she knows it's Jilly. So she goes to answer it, and Jilly's like, I'm scared and I need to be picked up. So Sally goes over to her, and it's like at a motel, and Jilly's like crying in like a corner, and she's like, she has this like huge bruise on her face. And I was like, this motherfucker. So Sally just starts bringing her out to the car, and Jilly was saying that like he got upset because he wanted a jelly donut with cream. And she's like, that's not a cream donut. And like the worker laughed, and she laughed, and he like fucking beat her up for that. She's like, oh, I gotta get something real quick. And Jilly,
her tiger's eye. She wanted her tiger's eye. Crystal, and she could not leave without it.
So she runs to, I guess it was his car. His car, and he's in there in the back seat, and he ends up holding her like hostage with a gun, and he tells Sally to start driving. So Sally's driving. This man is just like fucking crazy. Like he's like out of it, and he's just like a real piece of shit. And so Jilly uses some magic to like kind of like tell Sally that she has belladonna in the bag, and belladonna is the thing she was putting in his drink. And so I guess it's something that would help, that would I guess
put him to sleep.
Yeah.
Which, fun fact, my eardrops, I have two homeopathic eardrops, and the one is belladonna. And I was like, when I first looked at the ingredients after like using it for a little while, I was like, wait a minute, am I gonna die? Death by eardrops. But yeah, no, it's real.
That's wow. Okay.
Apparently,
I wasn't sure if it was
remedy for years. I'll lend it to you.
Yeah, I might need it. Thank you. So, she puts the stuff in his
liquor
bottle
because he's drinking.
Yeah,
and
he's drinking.
She's like, oh, I'll have some, and he passes it forward.
Yeah, so he eventually gets it back, and he's drinking and drinking. They stop so he can like pee, and Sally's like, why hasn't he been knocked out yet? And Julie's like, how much, like, did you give him enough? And Sally's like, I gave him a lot. Like, I don't know why he's not passing out yet.
Right.
So then he comes back to the car and like he's, Julie's like, I want to be with you. I love you. And he starts like choking her.
Yeah.
And he's choking her in the backseat. Sally like jumps on him, tries to like beat him off her. And he's fucking dying. He dies of an overdose of the belladonna. Yeah. So they're freaking out. And Sally's like, we need to go to the police. And Julie's like, no, they'll never fucking believe it. That was self-defense. So they're like, we should bring Jimmy back to life. And, he's already dark and unnatural. So like, what's the worst that can happen?
Right.
So Sally's pretty much thinking like she doesn't want to lose her kid, she doesn't want to lose this, so she's like, fuck it. So they bring him to the house.
Yeah.
And this is my most memorable moment. It was wild. So they are looking through the spell book and at what they have to do, and so he's on the table, and so he has to like draw like a star on his chest and he use like whipped cream.
Yeah.
It's like goofy. And then they have to put needle through his eye. When they said that, I was like, Megan's recommending this to me. I'm like, I better not see this. Sorry. I better not see nothing with the fucking needle eyes.
I was busy crocheting while I was rewatching, and I didn't have to watch it.
So luckily they do not stab his eyes. They're chanting, and before they do that, he opens his eyes and wakes up. But he looks like a zombie. And he gets up and he attacks Gilly. And he's like, I want you to be my wife. I want you to be my wife. And so at that point, Sally takes a fucking I think a pan. Yeah, and she hits him on the head and kills him. Yeah. So he pretty much was brought back and then dies again. So then they bury him in the yard and they decide to keep it a secret, even from like the aunts. So no one can know about this. Next day, it's phone tree day. Yeah. Which is a weird like popularity thing with the moms in the area.
It's like a thing where basically they try to figure out what the phone tree is going to be for like calling emergencies, which nothing would ever make me want to be part of it. I would want to be the last one on the phone tree.
Yeah, and it's definitely like, oh, whoever's the most popular, whoever gets the most vote and whoever's the top is like a popularity thing. So of course Sally never gets to the top because no one likes her.
Because she's a witch.
She's also hotter than everyone there. Yeah. So Jilly like crashes the fucking mom meeting. Yeah. And she uses magic to put Sally on top just to make her feel better because Sally was having a bad day. So that was nice of her to make her sister feel better. So they have like a nice bond, even though Jilly is like crazy. She's always got her sister's back. So then the grave where Jimmy's buried at starts getting like vines and shit growing. So you're like, uh-oh. Yeah. Not good. No. And then that night they have midnight margaritas, which sounds really fun.
It sounds so fun.
Yeah. So the aunts are like, they're all drinking, they're all dancing with Jilly and Sally.
And the lime and the coconut song.
Yeah, they're getting like trashed and they're just like kind of like making fun of each other and like laughing and all that.
And it's a little bit like pointed, like they're getting a little mean.
Yeah, a little bit mean.
You're like, what?
Yes, but I mean, family.
I think it correlates to the fact that which liquor they're using.
Yes, so the liquor. I think Sally or Jilly notices it, and it's the same liquor that Jimmy had. And so Jilly like takes the bottle and embraces it. She's like, where did you get this liquor? And they're like, oh, it was like at the doorstep. Someone left it there. And so they're like, okay, like what the fuck? So that's obviously weird. So it seems like there was something weird with that liquor that was making them kind of
that's the belladonna. They put the belladonna in it, so they were all acting a little bit extra drunk because they had belladonna in their system.
Yeah. After that, it seems like the aunts kind of know something's going on. Yeah. And they're like, all right, we're gonna have to leave and let them figure this shit out themselves. So they go to the little girls and they're like, hey, like, we're gonna head out, like keep these like they put like rope around their necks to keep them safe. They said, we'll be back. Blah blah blah. And then the next morning, the daughter looks out and where Jimmy's buried is like a large rose bush. Yeah. She can actually see like a faint image of him. And she said she sees a man out there, but no one else can see it. So that's a little weird. So then I keep wanting to say Loretta. Sally and Jilly go out.
Wait, where's Loretta coming from?
From fucking the island.
Oh my god. No, you're so right. Sorry. I was like wondering what you're talking about. Okay, got it.
Two Sandra Bullocks. So they go out and they see that his like shoes are like sticking out and then like sink in a bit. Yeah. It's like a little weird. Very like Beetlejuice. And so they're like freaking out. They're like, what is going on here? And then a man shows up. And his name's Gary Hallett. And he's like a private investigator. He's from Arizona, I think. Yes. Where Jimmy was at. Yes. So he's asking him like questions and he wants to speak to Jilly. First he sees Sally and she's hacking at the bush. And so The rose bush.
Thank you for the clarification.
And so she's, goes to get Jilly, and she's like, I feel weird. Like, I feel like I can't lie to this man. I don't know what it is. And Jilly's like, okay, like, our story's this. We have not seen him for days. Whatever. This is our story. So Jilly is coming down to talk to Gary. She's very, like, flirty, very, like, forward, and trying to just get him to like her. And he's not falling for it. He doesn't really care for that. So he's talking kind of more to Sally, because Sally seems to be a little bit more open. And he actually tells her, he's like, I feel like I've seen you before. So they have this like weird like connection. And so at this point, I'm like, this isn't the dream man, right? I'm like, he can't be. I'm like, this is a fucking nerd.
Okay, Channing Tatum's first name was Alan, dude.
Okay, but Alan's a real man. His name's Gary. You can't tell me Gary's better than Alan. What the fuck? The only Gary I know is from fucking SpongeBob.
Oh my god.
So, he asks about the car in the driveway because he knows it's Jimmy's. And so then Sally's like, we stole it because he was trying to kidnap Jilly. And Gary's like, wait, like what? Like, what are you talking about? And Jilly's like pissed off because Sally's just saying shit.
Yeah.
She's like, what are you doing? Like, you're fucking shit up. Then he pretty much tells them that a woman was found on the side of the road and she had a branding on her face. And it was like the ring that Jimmy would have. So he's obviously a fucking murderer. And so they're looking for him because of that. So he's like, I'll be around. We can talk again if you have anything to say. So he goes around town and everyone's telling him how the Owens are like witches and they like on Halloween night they jump off their house and fly on brooms and all this crazy shit, and he's just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And I honestly thought he maybe had magic because the way he was like
dealing with it all.
Yeah.
I feel like his like calm in it was just like, oh, small towns, you know what I mean?
Right. Because it just like felt, I'm like, does he like, I don't know, is he like supernatural? Because I was like, oh, they're like connection. Like, what is this? Like, I don't know. I was thinking too hard.
Yeah. No, it's okay. I thought at one point that the Jilly's boyfriend was a vampire. So
he had that aura about him.
Yeah, he did. Absolutely. And he talked about how they would be together for centuries.
Yep. That probably would have been more interesting.
Yeah, it would have been.
It cuts to the next morning. The officer, Gary, is going to be there again. And so Jilly and the daughters are trying to create this banishing spell to get Gary to leave him alone. And so they're pretty much like, they tell the one daughter, tell him that we're gonna have pancakes, make him have pancakes with us, and we're gonna, slip this in. And then while they're doing that, one of the daughters brings out a journal that used to be Sally's.
Yes.
And she's like, was this mom's? And so Jilly's looking at it and she sees the pages of the spell, which is like the dream man spell.
Yes.
And they were like, oh, is that about dad? And Jilly tries to say yes, but then daughter's like, oh, well, like dad didn't have blue, like he had brown eyes.
Yeah.
And then Jilly was like, okay, actually, like it wasn't, like she did this when she was very young, she just wrote like who her dream man was. So now the daughter's like read through that and kind of have an idea. So it cuts to Gary and Sally and they're talking, and Sally's like demeanor changes in this, so it's like a little weird, but she's kind of like, whatever, like, yeah, I'm a witch, it is what it is.
Yeah, I think she was kind of like, my read of it was like she was playing it off because she couldn't lie to him.
Yeah.
So instead she was just acting like, oh yeah, you know me,
right.
I'm a witch.
So silly. It's
yeah,
crazy.
like
yeah, and then so he's like, have either of you killed Jimmy? And she's like, yeah, multiple times. Just like casually.
Yeah.
And so he decides to help with making pancakes, and he's like flipping them, and the daughters are like, oh, he flips pancakes. And he's like humming. One of the things was like he hums something.
Yeah.
He's like humming. And I'm like, no. What?
Doesn't the one daughter ask at one point, or is it at the dinner? At one point?
Dinner.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Because they asked him if he can ride a pony backwards, and he's like, anyway, I can do backwards, sideways, front ways, whatever.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah. And so, they're being served pancakes, and Jilly tries to hand him the syrup that has the spell in it, and the daughters grab it and they're like, no, and they take it and they dump it off
the cliff.
And so
I can't imagine letting your kids play on a cliffside.
Yeah, no. And so that was like weird, and then they see a giant frog and it coughs out the ring, Jimmy's ring. And so Gary grabs it and he's like, what are you two trying to pull here? Like, what was in that syrup?
Right.
He's like, you guys better get a good lawyer. So he is pretty convinced that they did something with Jimmy.
Yeah.
Which is true. So he leaves, and Sally goes to catch up to him, and she's like, I know what happened. I'd like want to talk to you. And he's like, you should really get a lawyer. She's like, no, like, it's fine. So then they're in his like hotel room, bed and breakfast. And so her letter to her sister's there. And she's like, why is this here? He's like, oh, it's like evidence. And she's like, how is this evidence?
Yeah, she's like, this has been read like a lot.
Yeah, and he's
There's,
like
a lot of creases in
right,
here.
and he's trying to like change the subject, and like tensions are high, and they start like making out.
Yeah,
and
it was very spontaneous.
Yeah,
but I also liked it.
Well, it was fine until his one eye just started magically turning green.
Did it?
Yes, with CGI.
What?
Dude, it was like a lizard green.
I thought it had always been.
No, because
it turned that color.
I looked. Because when he first appeared, I'm like, oh, both his eyes are piercing blue. So I'm like, it can't be this dream man. And then during that scene, his eye was like turning green.
Weird.
And she's like, oh, you have one green eye. And like freaks out and leaves. And I was like, what the fuck? I'm like, is he a human? Is he a mutant? I was like, what the fuck? I guess
it's a spell working and being like, this is your perfect man.
I guess like the movie was like, we should try to hide. Because obviously the one green, one blue is obvious fucking.
I thought it was so subtle that you just don't notice. But
it was definitely blue.
Okay, we got it. Locked in. Well, whatever. But I did find like when I watched this the first time, I was like, it is weird how he is like all about justice, but he's also just like, I'm gonna make out with this girl who probably murdered somebody.
Yeah, it's like a weird.
But they obviously have a magical connection.
Right. It makes sense. But like, yeah, so she like leaves because she's freaking out. And she ends up like hearing the voices of her daughters and Jilly, and they're saying like Jilly needs help, like she needs help. And so she gets to the house, and Jilly's like in a bed, and she's like getting possessed. Yes. And like Jimmy kind of like comes out from her body. He's like, hey. And Gary,
like, hey,
it's me,
Jimmy.
And Gary followed Sally, and he's pointing the gun
because one of the things that her magic man could hear her call from miles away.
Shut up.
I
literally put my deleted scene was any scene with Gary. I did not like this man.
What?
I did not like this man.
Oh my god.
I did not like him at all. And I tried.
You're fake.
I tried.
No.
I don't know what it was. I could not trust him.
What?
I don't know what it was.
Oh my god.
I refuse to believe he was her dream man.
Stop! His eye turned green. Obviously he was.
No, he's like a lizard. He's a lizard man. So anyway, Jimmy is like a ghost demon thing. And he goes to attack Gary and like puts his hand in Gary's chest, but like gets scarred by Jimmy's fucking star badge.
Yeah. Somehow I don't know why.
And it's like a fucking crucifix. And Gary puts the star out, and Jimmy like fades away.
Yeah, I don't really know what that was about.
No one knows.
I don't know.
2 thoughts were put in this movie, and that's about it.
That feels a little harsh. Let's take it down a couple notches.
No, I'm sorry.
You're gonna upset all of the Halloween romance girlies.
I'll talk about it more. But
yeah,
anyway.
I know you will.
That happened. So I was like, okay, I guess Jimmy's dead. And so Sally and Gary have a talk, and he said he read her letter a lot because like he realizes that she pulled him to that town, and she said that she sent for him when she was a little girl. She tells him about like the spell or whatever. And then he says like curses only have power when you believe in them, and I don't. Doesn't make sense. Like, what the fuck are you talking about, Gary?
Right. And
so he said he wished for her too.
I thought that was cute, you little brat.
No.
He wished for her too. Come on, man.
She casted the spell.
Yeah, but he's basically
so that means
he's saying that it's not that it was a one-way thing. He's not forced to love her because of that. She's also his dream girl.
Yeah, but was he thinking that at the same time she was casting the spell?
Maybe Demi.
Okay, maybe
he's part witch.
Maybe it was. Let me finish this fucking movie.
God, sorry.
Because it doesn't get better.
God damn it.
So they go back inside. Gilly's possessed the shit now from Jimmy again. So the aunts return, and they're like, well, y'all didn't solve this issue still. We told you, whatever. And they were like, we need a coven of 9 women to remove this spirit. So Sally just starts contacting like the moms.
This part was like so silly.
It was silly
because it's the idea that like all the moms who were like,
who hated her,
I hate you, and now they're like, okay,
yeah, they're like, oh, this is fun, this is quirky, and it's like you're literally going to a house to remove a demon, like possession. But whatever. They're
like,
all,
I'll be honest, I probably wouldn't go if someone said there's a demon that we're getting rid of. Although I don't think they shared that information. I think they said, you know, oh,
hey, I'm a witch. Do you have a broom you can bring?
Yeah, it was something like low key.
I mean, it's a small town. Yeah. Maybe they don't have anything else going for them. So she contacts a bunch of moms and stuff, and they come over with their brooms, and it's like, it's funny because Gilly's like grossly possessed, but they have this like fun moment of the women coming in. They're like, oh, I only had this like dust can, like this
she's like a dustbuster.
Yeah, and they're like helping in the kitchen, whatever, you know. So they go to help, and Gilly's like in the middle of this like.
I love how you keep saying Gilly.
Oh, Jilly. Did I say Gilly?
You keep saying Gilly like over and over.
Jilly.
Okay, it's Jilly. Jilly, Gilly, same thing.
Whatever. Nicole Kidman.
Yeah.
So she's in the middle of this chanting circle, and so she's pretty much like, I want to give up. Like, he just wants me. He wants me. Mm-hmm. And Sally's like, no, like, I'm not going to let him take you. You need to hold on. And then, I don't know, they do a blood oath again, and sisterly love saves the day.
Mm-hmm. I didn't love the whole, like, her laying on the ground thing. And
yeah, it was a little quick, because they hinted that Sally was really powerful and didn't use it, but I feel like it still didn't. Like, I guess she did. I guess she was strong enough to kind of push him out, but like it wasn't executed as well. I was like, okay, I guess that's it. And then Jimmy's like, dust. I thought this was funny. They all take the brooms that they brought and
they swept
bring
the
dust out. So I thought that was funny. And they dust him out, and then they pour some god awful liquid they were cooking on his burial grave in ashes, and then he dies. So Jimmy's officially gone. Jilly's saved. Everything's good. And then a bit later, Sally gets a letter from Gary saying that the case is closed. He pretty much said it was like an accidental death. I guess Sally kind of calls back for Gary. And then Gary comes.
I think it's,
I think she kind of like calls to him.
Yes.
So, yeah, they're connected, I guess. So he shows up. They're like together. The movie ends on Halloween. They're all dressed as witches, and they're like putting on a show on their house, and they float down with the umbrellas. Everyone loves them now.
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, they did remove a demon.
Yeah. Well, they created like a bonding moment. They brought the whole town in. Before they were other, and now everyone's in on it.
That's fair. Yeah. I mean, it's a small town. So, and that's how the movie ends. So everyone's like happy. Yes. Everyone's fine.
The curse was broken, whether or not that was
How was that broken?
They said that it was like whether, like, it's like her Sandra Bullock's voiceover basically says that it's either like whether it was the sisterly love that like banishing Jimmy from the life caused the curse to break, or whether it was like Gary not believing in the curse's ability or whatever, but apparently it was broken.
Oh, well, congratulations.
He didn't die, so
I mean, it took 3 years for the other one to die, so that's why I was like, I guess Gary's eventually gonna die.
No, they said the curse is broken.
I didn't hear that part because I think I was
live.
Yay. Love Gary. Obviously I fucking passed on Gary.
Ugh, God.
Side character Jilly, I'd smash. She's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, she's mildly chaotic. She might put belladonna in your drink, but sure.
She did it to protect herself.
She did it because he never wanted to stop having sex with her.
Yeah, and he's fucking abusive. So she probably did it to.
She said that he hit him. He hit her only the once, is what she said. But I don't know if I believe it. But I'm just saying.
I feel like, I mean, that's fair. It could be that. But I think part of it was that he was like not a good person. So
no, he was definitely not a good person.
Help him he
was a murderer.
Yeah.
But
yes. So I'm more on Jilly's side.
But they didn't. No, yeah, I am. Yeah. I'm just saying I don't.
Why are you making me feel weird about picking Smash for Jilly and pass for Gary? Oh,
sorry, I just
middle-aged white
Gary.
man.
He wasn't middle-aged yet. What do you mean? He was definitely like late 30s. Come on, he was late 30s.
Dude,
I'm gonna look
next
up.
to Sandra.
I thought he was kind of attractive.
Oh my
god, yourself.
My God.
Hold on. Practical Magic. Let me see. 1998. He was 39.
Dude. He's almost 40. 40 years old.
Yeah, I said he wasn't 40. Yeah, he was in his late 30s. That's 39. Like, I'm in my late 20s. I'm not in my 30s yet, like some people in this room.
I just couldn't.
Whatever.
I couldn't.
I don't get... Okay, whatever. No, it's fine. Whatever.
My taste in men.
It's fine. He wasn't himbo, not for you. He's too smart.
He was, too intelligent, apparently.
I mean, I don't know how intelligent he was. He basically pretended like his future wife wasn't
He
gonna...
was written too weird.
Okay.
He was written too weird.
No, I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like, the very first time I ever watched Practical Magic, I was much younger.
Yeah.
And it left me feeling icky. I was like, I don't get why this had such a cult classic. Because it is a cult classic. Like, people love Practical Magic. Mm-hmm. We'll watch it every year.
Yeah.
I didn't understand it the first time I ever watched it. Because I was like, I think it made me feel weird. Like, I felt sad for her first husband who died. And then you feel weird about the fact that they killed someone. And then the police officer just lets it all go.
Yeah, because, like, he showed up how much longer after the
it definitely been a long time. Because she had a like thriving business.
Yeah, she was opening a shop,
So it had definitely, they don't show you how much time. But
but
I will say, like, the first time I watched it, I didn't like it as much as I watched when I rewatched it for the podcast. I actually enjoyed it more than the first time I watched it. And I think it's like, I already had I knew what was going to happen. And so I was like, okay, I can, like, suspend disbelief.
Yeah. I think it had, like, a lot going for it. And I just think, like, for me, it just wasn't, it had too many things. You know, like, it wasn't executed as well. But, I don't know. I guess, like, the romance for me was just not there at all. Like, I didn't feel any chemistry between Sally and Gary. And it just, like, I'm like, I guess they're going to end up together. And, I mean, they did. So.
Yeah. That's fair.
It's, it's whatever. So, things of note, I pretty much, like, said everything. I probably, if you're a lesbian, you don't have to worry about the curse, I guess. How do you fuck up with both Sandra and Nicole? And then, so I gave it 2 hearts.
Great.
It's not great, but, like, I don't know. I could see it being, like, a cult classic, but, for me, I think it just had a lot going on for it, but I kind of wish, I really thought I was going to really like this one.
Yeah,
it had everything.
I genuinely thought you would like it more just because of the fact that there is, like, the little, like, crime.
Right. A little murder. And I thought it was going to be more, I guess, goofy, more, like, campy. Yeah. And it just, like,
It's not very campy.
No. I think it could have used some camp, and I think maybe I would have enjoyed it more. But, yeah. So.
Whatever.
Yay, Practical Magic.
Okay, well, I feel like a lot of people are going to be disappointed in your take. So, we'll find out. If you disagree with Demi's take, please let us know. I also disagree.
That's fine.
Okay. So, my movie that I had the I don't want to say pleasure, but that I had no choice but to watch is House LLC, directed by Stephen Cognetti. Or if it's Italian, it would be Cognetti. But maybe he's not Italian, or maybe he says it the not Italian way. Like,
I don't know. Yeah.
Anyway, genre horror. I didn't give it a subgenre because it feels like it's just horror.
I think it's just straight, yeah.
Released 2015. Snapshot. This found footage mockumentary covers the mysterious story of the haunted house attraction Hell House, where several people died on opening night. The way that this goes, it's basic. Like I said, it's a mockumentary. So you see, like, it switches between scenes of, like, police footage and then, like, talking to a photographer and a historian and a bystander and things like that. So I'm gonna do my best to kind of, like, talk about this in a linear way, and I'm gonna try not to be like scene change, scene change, and talk about every single scene change, because it would just be super annoying. So I might do it a couple of times, but for the most part, the vast majority of the movie is pretty linear once you get to the true found footage aspect. So you find out that this is a 2009 tragedy that occurred, and what you're watching is supposed to be a documentary. And it opens with a lady walking around the house. She's, like, very excited to be there, and she's, like, whispering and pointing, and it's clearly an abandoned hotel turned haunted house. And on the opening night that this haunted house happens, so one of the things that you're seeing is that there is live footage from someone who's about to enter the haunted house. And they're like going through the haunted house and walking, and they're like excited to go in and see. And they're seeing like there's like people fleeing. Like there's this clown that runs past them, and there's this woman that runs past, and the person like turns and is like, is that supposed to be happening? And they're going down to the basement, and everyone at the bottom of the basement is screaming like, get back, go back upstairs, get out, get out, get out. Things are falling. You can hear it almost sounds like there's gunshots going off. It's like very loud. They're running through the kitchen, and it's like one of those big silver serving things. It like falls over, and this person gets trapped underneath. They get outside. There's like ambulances. You see footage from like the news, and there's like body bags being pulled out of the house. And then there's like a 911 call that you hear come through. You can't really hear what's happening, but it's like you hear something about like walls, and like they're doing something, whatever. And it's like sounds creepy. The looking it up later, apparently, like if you listen closely, it says like they're pulling us into the walls or something. Right as of this point, they're like linking the cause of death to some sort of malfunction within the haunted house. So people don't know what's going on. There's like all this mystery around it. They don't know what happened. They don't know why it happened. And it was an abandoned hotel, and it goes back to being an abandoned location. So there was a photographer who is being interviewed, and he's talking about how he went in and photographed everything and released that footage. So the photographs are showing like, it's not like artsy photographs. It's almost like crime scene photos.
Right.
And you're seeing like blood on the floor and handprints in blood. And the photographer wouldn't go down the basement. He said like he's been to really scary places, but that was something he wasn't going to do. And so suddenly there's like this special interview where the only surviving member of Hell House decided to get interviewed, and her name is Sarah, and she shows up, and she's been basically in hiding up until this point. And she shares that, you know, she's in a better place now, but she wasn't doing well, and she ends up pulling out a bag of tape, like film, and putting it on the table and saying that, you know, the police didn't get this because she got to it first. Then you get footage. So moving forward, for the most part, I'm going to be talking about this footage because that's the vast majority. Sarah says, you know, everything about that you need to know about what happened is here. So there's 6 people, and it's Alex, who's kind of the leader. He is the founder of Hell House. He is the one who like started the whole thing. And there's his best friend, childhood friend, Mac. Alex's girlfriend. Is it only 5 people actually?
Sarah, the girlfriend.
Girlfriend Sarah. And then there is Tony and Paul. Who were like the first hires that ever were brought in to Hell House. And
Hell House is like they make haunted houses in different areas, I guess. They just
every year they go to a different location. They set up a haunted house from scratch. Tony is the tech guy, and Paul is kind of like I feel like he just kind of does whatever. He's kind of like sleazy. He's the film. He's, for the most part, he's the one who's filming. And yes, they originally started in New York, doing all these locations there. But this year, Alex wanted to do something different, wanted to do something spooky, and he wants to try out this abandoned hotel in the middle of New York.
And it has like a history. You know, some rumors to it. So
but they don't know that. And Alex keeps it a secret from them that there's this rumor. So like it starts off and they're filming, and you see like Mac and Alex are fighting over directions, and they're getting like, they're kind of at each other's throats, and there's definitely like tension there. But then they go to the abandoned hotel, and they're kind of playing around. There's like this creepy piano. Mac is like, I don't want to use this location. The one guy, and at this point I didn't know who was who. The one guy's like, let's stay the night here. And they're like, what? No, there's literally no electricity, no plumbing. Like, absolutely not.
It's already like terrifying looking.
There's a chain hanging from the ceiling in the attic. And there's this moment where like the radio on the walkie starts going off. It sounds like a spirit box. And I was like, oh my God, get out, you guys. No.
Not for me.
No, not interested. So there's like, they see that there are numbers painted onto the brick going into the basement.
Yeah.
And that's never really explained. And it might be because this actually is the first in a trilogy. So maybe in later ones, it kind of is brought up. There's an upside down pentagram. So basically it's a star.
Yes.
Because I was staring at it. I was like, that's not a pentagram. And I don't know if there's like some sort of purpose there. But
yeah, like I said, I looked into the other two because I heard they were garbage. So I didn't actually watch them myself. But I looked into them and it like, I don't remember too much. We can talk about it after your review.
Okay. So they're seeing like there's all these books in the basement and it turns out they're all Bibles.
Yeah.
Sarah's feeling unsettled. At one point,
obviously.
There's like random stuff in the basement, like a shoe and a suitcase, and it's weird. And so Sarah says, you know, at this point that it's when they started sleeping in the house, which is about a week after, once they had electricity, that's when things started to change. So you see that they're all like sitting at the bar of this old hotel and they're drinking and sharing stories and talking about like past haunted houses and trying to tell a story of like all these Disney princesses who are like dressed up like that for Halloween and they like couldn't be scared. And they keep referencing Queens, which is like, I guess was like the worst location they ever did. Yeah. And it was just like, they had so many problems. Yeah. And they're kind of laughing about it, but also kind of like there's clearly some history there. Yeah. And Alex keeps saying he wants to keep Hell House fresh. And like, that's why they're changing locations. Yeah. Because they're like, why didn't we just stay in New York? Like, we've never had to stay overnight at a location before. We've never had to, you know, we've always been able to, like, when something was scary, like, just go out and grab a slice of pizza at, like, something that wasn't creepy. Yeah. And here they're, like, locked in.
Right. Yeah, because it really is in, like, nowhere. Like, it's just kind of, like, by itself.
Yeah. There's a security camera wall of video that they have set up, but they can't get video in the basement. There's something about it being, like, super thick stone walls. And so they decide that, like, because they can't get video in, they can't monitor, like, their final attraction. Their final attraction is supposed to be this, like, half-naked woman chained to the wall as a sacrifice. Yeah,
in front of the fucking upside-down pentagram.
Right, exactly. So they were like, well, we can't just leave her down there with people going down, so let's find a way to get, like, I think Alex has the idea that they're going to get a body clown. A bodyguard to be a clown. Yeah. They end up deciding that that's what they're going to do. Paul plays piano, like that creepy piano with a creepy mannequin. And then it goes to a scene where it's like Paul keeps doing like confession cam style talking into the camera.
These are so scary for me.
They're like probably some of the worst. They're so spooky.
Oh my gosh.
So he has like a 1990 tattoo on his pec that looks like somebody did it when they were drunk. Could be. They keep making like gross misogynist statements, which is like, you know, I think they're just kind of playing into the fact that it's just like a bunch of dudes.
Yeah, it's like mostly guys and Sarah is like the girlfriend.
Yeah. And so they're making like a comment. Makes a comment about like, oh, Alex doesn't want to share Sarah.
Yeah,
And it's like, what? Ew, don't be gross. And then I'm like, oh my God, there's someone behind him. And you can see like the body standing. And like, he's looking at the camera. He doesn't realize it. So then
the camera's kind of like pointing at him, and you can see like behind him.
Yes, it's just like
a shadow.
You see into the hallway, and it's like red lit in the hallway, and then you see the shadow of this woman. Yeah, and it's Sarah, and he like realizes it's her. He's like, "What's Sarah? What's going on?" She just turns around and leaves. Yeah, and he's like, "Are you sleepwalking?" And he's like, "Oh, that was weird," and then he turns that off. The next scene you see is the one that I said should be deleted because he walks up and it's Sarah and Alex in their room with the door cracked, and she's in her like cheeky underwear, and he's like focused in on her butt basically.
Yeah, and like her whole ass is out. And first of all, their door's open.
Like, so why?
I'm like, they can't get that mad. I'm like, why is she laying out like that?
They really can't get that mad because should be no reason for them to be like laying it all out.
But also
there.
He should be like respectful as a person.
Exactly.
But obviously not.
Exactly. And so he's like, oh, I just want to tell you that the actors are here, Joey, Melissa, and Sam. Mm-hmm. And he's still like continually trying to put the camera on Sarah. Yeah. And it's just gross.
She's like laughing. I'm like,
but she's also like uncomfortable. And Alex is like, dude, knock it off. Yeah. Like pushing him away. And it's just, the whole it was unnecessary and I didn't like it.
It added nothing.
No, it didn't.
Nothing.
Exactly.
Just a booty shot.
Exactly. Paul seems to like the young actress. He kind of like zooms in on her face and he's just like so thirsty.
He's, really gross.
Yeah. So then we talk to the photographer again and he's saying like he did speak with a police officer anonymously. He can't release their name, but this person said that the first body was of a Hell House member and the throat had been cut, which looked self-inflicted, which is horrible and very like that. I don't know how, like that's something else to self-inflict a throat slice.
Right.
Ugh, okay.
Yeah.
So, they talk about how Joey, that's the actor, the bodyguard actor, was in the basement. He ended up making it out alive. And they say, we all know what happens to him. And you find out that he was found dead in his hotel room or bedroom. I
think it was hotel room.
His hotel room. And that he had hung himself. Yep. So this is something that you see, the hanging aspect of this comes through again and again. And he never talks about what happened. At this point, I had to keep pausing the movie because my loving husband kept interrupting. And I was like, you do not want to watch this. Like, I know you don't want to watch this. You can't handle the clown thing.
He's spooked
by clowns.
Yeah, because I asked you, I was like, you don't have a clown phobia, do you?
Yeah. And I was like, I don't love it, but I'm not like, oh my God. But no, I was like, you do not want to be in here for that. So he keeps talking to me. And I just was getting really fed up. And I just burst out. I was like, I'm trying to make a living.
You're interrupting my career.
I literally said it and I was so serious and then I just couldn't stop laughing and we're both just cackling.
Oh my God. It's true though.
I know, I'm trying.
Interrupt us.
Yeah, you're ruining my flow. Anyway, so then I'm back to the movie.
Yep.
So then the female actress, who's the one who's gonna be like half naked and chained to the wall, she's kind of like feeling awkward and uncomfortable. And Alex is trying to talk her into it and like reassure her and make her feel better about it. And she ends up mentioning that the place was haunted. And Alex is like, no, we don't care about, no, you're fine. Yeah. And Paul's like, no, tell me everything. What do you mean?
Yeah.
And she's like, well, it was rumored that the owner hung himself in the dining room. And he's still trying to shut her up. And she's like, I don't know. It's just like, it's supposed to be haunted. Like, don't ask me. I'm not a historian or whatever.
It's supposed to be like a location for like cult or something.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Exactly. And then this part was actually funny. He like asks Alex for a quick kiss before he leaves. Yeah. And then he ends up kissing the actress's hand. I was like, oh my God.
Stupid.
Yeah. So then you talk to the historian again or whatever his job was. I don't remember. He looked like a historian. He looks like he teaches history at a college.
Yeah, that's very accurate.
So you learn that the owner of the hotel was named Andrew Tolley, and he built the hotel there in theory because of the town name, which is Abaddon, which apparently is a demon that guards hell. And there's a rumor that he was in a cult, like you said, and the reason that the hotel shut down is like guests started to go missing, starting with this 11-year-old girl and her mom. And when asked about it, he produces like some sort of paperwork to show their departure. But it was too late. It killed the business. And he ended up hanging himself in the dining room. And they do show like a picture of this.
Yeah.
I also said that the photographer seems to really be enjoying this interview. He's like smirking the whole time. I'm like, you're living for this. So it's nighttime again, and Paul hears a strange noise. So he goes to investigate, and he said it sounded like a scream, and a couple of people heard it. And I'm like, where's Sarah? Like, that's like, where is this girl?
She does like disappear a lot in this movie.
Yes, she just like dips.
Not as present.
Yeah. And then this scene where they're kind of like introducing Joey, the clown bodyguard.
Yeah.
And he does this horrible eyeball thing.
Oh yeah.
He like pushes his eyeball out of his head basically. I closed my eyes. I don't know what he did. I couldn't watch it.
He just like popped it out.
At first I was like, he has a glass eye and he's taking it out, but no, it's like some weird little trick. And I was like, that literally is horrible. And then they're like, where'd you find this guy? And he's like, at a gas station.
Which is insane. I'm like, you're hiring this man to protect
this poor half naked woman, and you found her at a gas station. What if he's a pervert?
insane.
It's
that when I was like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah,
like,
when
these
I heard that,
guys are idiots.
No,
obviously.
But it also makes sense with later because he ends up running out and dipping.
Yeah,
like, he's not a professional. He's not a professional. He's just a big dude.
Yeah, he's just a big guy. Yeah.
So there's a scene of like Paul singing to a dead doll, and I don't know why I said dead doll. All dolls are unalive, but
human mummy.
Yeah, human mummy. It's funny because there's like this scene where like Mac is just like casually reading, and I'm like, I can't imagine being in a haunted house and like reading.
No.
I would not be able to focus.
No, it's such a horrifying looking location.
Yes. So they're in the basement, and like he's like, Paul's walking through the basement, and he's like, Tony is in a mask, and it like turned to face him. He's like, oh, that's. Yeah, you got me, dude. You got me. And then
it's like a clown.
It wasn't Tony. All caps. Because the mask thing is suddenly gone.
Yes.
It's a dummy, and it's on the floor again, and he found Tony with Mac.
Yeah.
It was impossible for it to be him. And they all watch the footage back, and they're like, oh, Paul, you're pranking us. Like, dude, knock it off, Paul. You're always doing this shit. And he's like, I'm being so for real right now.
Yeah. Fuck that clown, dude.
Awful.
I hated it.
No, like, it was, I was not a fan of that at all. So then they decide they're going to film a commercial. They don't want to film it in the location because they're like, we don't want to give away our scares.
Yeah. And
they're just kind of being goofy and whatever. Right. It's giving off a very like early 2000s. Like, I did similar thing. Like, it felt like what I did with my friends in 2008.
Yeah, because they were like at like a park.
Yeah, they're in a park. And then at one point, Sarah is just standing there staring at this statue of the mother of Jesus, Mary. Yeah. So
being fucking weird.
Yeah, it was very strange. They ended up making a head cam for Paul, and he's gonna do a walkthrough of the whole place, and they have the strobe light set up, and like you're watching the strobes, and you're seeing this body just keep show up every couple of frames, and it's the freaking clown, and Paul's like, "Get me out of here! Get me out of here! Get me out of here! Like there's someone else here!" Yeah, he runs out and he throws up. On the floor, which, fun fact, was real. He really threw up.
Well, because the strobe lights were so fucking strong.
Yeah, that's probably why. They were intense.
Yeah, so strobe light warning for people.
Yeah, if you have epileptic.
Yeah, I could barely like watch it.
No, it was very uncomfortable.
Yeah, that's like, all that he threw up. Did it say why, or was it?
It just said that he threw up, so I don't know if it was like he was freaked out or if it's the lights.
Yeah. I mean, it could be both.
Yeah, either or. But I feel like maybe if you know what's happening, it's not going to scare you as much, but like maybe with the lights.
The lights like spooky. Yeah.
So Alex doesn't want the actors to know about like what's going on, and Paul wants everyone to know. Yeah. Because Alex is worried that actors are going to get freaked out and leave, and then it's going to ruin the whole operation. Right. And Paul's like, this is really creepy and weird. Yeah. And everyone needs to make an informed decision.
Yeah. And Alex is just like an idiot, obviously. And it's like, bro, like you're actors, like you need to make sure they're safe. Yeah. Like, how are you a professional?
Exactly. He's not. He's focused on one thing.
Yeah.
The money. So, it's another nighttime scene where they wake up and the body, like, I keep calling it the body. It's the clown. The clown is on the stairs. And so Mac and Paul move it and are going to, like, bring it back down into the basement. And Sarah is in the corner facing the wall, like, muttering. And it sounds like she's talking in reverse. Right. And I ended up looking up what she said, and I'm gonna say it at the end because I don't want to spoil anything. So Mac woke her up and she starts freaking out, and all of a sudden they turn around and the mannequin / clown is gone, and they're freaking out. And then they're like looking for it or whatever, and then the clock rings and they turn and Sarah screams because all the candles are on in the dining room, and then the clown is back. It's so horrible. So then it's morning. You see Sarah being consoled by Alex, and then Paul. This was very tempting for this to be the deleted scene. Yeah, but I did
the scene when he's in the room in his room again. Yeah. Oh.
This one. I almost made this one the deleted scene because this one was actually, I knew exactly what was going to happen, and it freaked me out. It was not good. So Paul is on confession cam again. He wants to leave. He's saying Sarah doesn't look good, and then he's like, she usually does. He's staring into the camera, and he's like, he always says like, sleep sweet when he closes it. Then there's this screeching noise, and I guess he turns on the camera again or whatever, and you see like it looks like Sarah is on the floor. I'm like
a shadow,
like there's like a female body like on the floor, And he gets freaked out. And he goes under the blanket, which is 100% what anyone would do in that situation. And you realize it's not Sarah. He keeps every time he peeked out, she's closer.
She's like closer.
And she looks so horrible.
It's like a ghost woman.
It's literally this like terrifying demon woman.
Yes.
And then he's like having a panic attack. And then I know that when he pulls down the camera next, I'm like, it's going to be like that stupid video that kids would make you watch in 6th grade, where it would be like just a regular driving scene and that scary
and it
woman
pops up, right?
It's gonna be just like that. I know it's gonna be just like that. And I'm like trying to like, I'm like, I have to watch it.
Yeah,
I have to watch it.
Away.
I have to watch it because it's part of the podcast. I can't. So I'm like, I had to hold my eyeballs open. I watched it, and she jumps up, and he's screaming.
Yeah.
I can't believe no one freaking heard any of this.
No.
They heard screaming the other night, but whatever. So the next day, Tony comes in the room. He picks up the camera. I swear to God, there's blood on the walls. And he's like, where are you, Paul? Where are you, Paul? They all think he just dipped.
Yeah.
And Tony's like, that doesn't track. Like, I don't think he, like, has anyone even bothered to call him? And they're like, oh, you remember what he did in Queens, whatever. And he's just like, come on, guys.
Yeah, that was like so long ago.
Right.
Like, you're still going to hold that against him.
Right. So finally, like, Tony's like, here, use my phone. Alex, call him. So Alex calls him, and someone picks up, and it's just like that screeching sound of that woman demon again. And he drops the phone, and it like breaks in two because it's a flip phone.
Yeah. To clarify.
Yeah. So then basically, like, Tony seems to be holding onto the camera at this point. Like, Tony and Mac kind of both take on the camera duties moving forward. And so,
and the reason why they're recording is because Alex wants, like,
because he said
like kind of just something that they could show like people, like they're behind
like
the
content.
scenes. Yeah,
content. Obviously, everything's about content,
right?
And then also like to help them in future years, knowing like what they've done, what works, whatever.
Yeah.
Mac is standing above the basement, and there's like piano playing, and he's like, "Do you hear that?" And he's like, "Yeah, I hear that." So they go to investigate, and at one point, there's like they look behind them, and like they don't realize it, but that clown is standing behind them in the kitchen, and I'm like, "Oh God,
no,
stop!" So they get into the room with the piano, and there's no one there, and the piano stops, and there's nothing in there. But then all of a sudden they hear the sound of it playing again, and Mac is like, "Oh my God, Paul's in here. He's fucking with us." They're like hearing noises. They're thinking it's Paul, and all I'm thinking to myself is they have this wired up to lights. Like, why aren't you turning on the lights? They're using flashlights. This whole
it's
time.
like dark as shit
every time, and you have all these creepy little mummies. You think you're gonna find mummies, some dummies? You think you're gonna notice between Paul and a dummy? Like,
yeah, I don't know. They weren't thinking. I guess they were just like running towards the noise, just to try and catch, Paul.
Yeah. So the clown dummy is back where he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And the dummy faces are like looking at them, and Tony's like, oh my, freaks out. And he's like, get in the freezer, get in the freezer. So they go into the freezer, and it's like this classic commercial freezer. So when I worked at a produce department, it's exactly the same as this freezer that like where we kept all the cold stuff. So it like really brought me back.
Oh, nostalgia.
Yeah, I was like, I remember when I used to kiss my boyfriend in the freezer illegally.
Where the frozen food was?
No. So he's like freaking out, and Mac's like, I don't believe in ghosts. Like, it's not, there's an explanation for this. And Tony doesn't want to leave. Yeah. And they get out, and the faces of the mask are facing forward again. Yeah. And he's like, then they end up finding Paul in the basement, and he has just like these open eyes, and he just looks like out of it. Just gone. And he looks like kind of angry. It's almost like there's no one home, but also maybe he's like has like this, like he's definitely possessed.
Yeah,
for sure. So Tony wants to get out. He's like, it's not safe anymore. I don't want to do this. Paul hasn't talked since he's come back. I'm out. I quit. F you guys. Yeah. So then Mac is filming, and he like tries to get him to come back. He's like, you don't have all the facts. You don't understand. And then the camera like stops. So then it, you're getting some scene changes where it's like you see an image of Sarah, you see an image of the house, you see Tony sitting in a field saying he can't leave, and Mac comes up to him and he's like, are you okay? And Tony's like, no, I'm not okay. You've known this whole time, and quote, now we're fucked because of fucking Alex.
Yeah.
So
and they never say like what the reason.
No. The implication, because I was looking up this a little bit, the implication was that it was something financial.
Yeah.
And so I think that how I interpreted it, like my hypothesis, which I put in, was that probably Alex like used their credit or something, like put credit under their names. Because if it was just like Alex who was screwed over, he could still leave and it'd be fine. But I'm assuming that like in some way all of them are tied in and like locked in financially for the success of this. So they need it to work in order to like not be bankrupt is how I took it. And during a Q&A with the director, he kind of implies it's financial, and they did have a scene in the movie that like kind of laid it out more, and then they ended up cutting it. And Mac ends up saying like there's a lot Alex isn't telling me, which is the scariest part of all. And you know that there's definitely things that Alex is keeping to himself because like he didn't tell anyone about like the rumors or whatever. And it makes sense if it's financial because they went from being able to do like New York City as like their location to now it's like the middle of nowhere in New York. They have to stay overnight. They're not staying in a hotel. Okay, so then it goes back to the interview with Sarah, with the documentary filmmaker. And Sarah says, like, no, there was no gear that was malfunctioning that night. We were all prepared and ready. Everyone was of sound mind. Alex was the same as always. And, you know, the reason why they're saying that, like, is Alex of sound mind is because of later something that occurs. Yeah. And she's like, so why didn't you leave? And she was like, I couldn't. I needed to stay with Alex. The witness talks about her experiences and just kind of like reiterating everything you saw, which was like no one could get out because everyone was like in the basement was trying to get out. And there's like it goes to this scene of Alex trying to like rally everybody, like the actors, but he's acting really weird and off. And his rally is not great. Mac ends up taking over. He's basically like, you know, whatever. Tony talks to Alex one-on-one. He ends up apologizing, which I thought was really interesting. Like this kind of weird thing where I'm like, he's trying to get on Alex's good side. Tony tries to wait to call to Paul. He's sleeping in bed. There's this big crowd there that night. Everyone's excited. The actress is chained up. The clown has the keys. So Joey has the keys to her chains, which I was just like, I don't know why you need real chains.
No, it's like so stupid. No one, I'm like, she's an actress.
Yes.
Like,
you don't need to actually be chained up.
Yeah, so dumb.
Yeah. So then Mac, like, respectfully rips open her dress. Yes. Which is, like, hilarious. And then she's saying she's excited. And then they're noticing at this point, like, the walkie-talkies aren't working, which they're attributing to the fact that Alex cheaped out and got cheap walkie-talkies. Another kind of clue into this financial issue they're having. And then you see the introduction to the haunted house. So the actress, there's a different actress. She's introducing everyone to the haunted house, bringing them in. And then you see back to, like, that initial witness footage that we saw at the beginning. And I'm like, oh, my God, wait, there are little kids who definitely probably were murdered.
Yeah, they were, like, children.
They were legit children. Tony and Alex are managing from cameras. They're kind of directing everything from behind the scenes. Sarah ends up telling Mac that she saw Paul out with the guests and he won't look at her. And so he's like, I have to handle this. Like, you go up there and, like, let them know. Because Alex and Tony can't hear anything. Suddenly, Tony is running. No, sorry. Yeah, Tony can't hear anything. Suddenly, you see Joey, the clown, is running. So clearly something's happening in the basement at this point. Sarah runs past. That's the people running that you saw at the beginning. The actress starts screaming and she's saying, this is not part of the show. This is not part of the show. Everyone starts running and you see there's like bodies in the corner. There's multiple like masked figures. Yeah. Which is super creepy.
Don't like that.
No, not
they're
at
like
all.
approaching the poor woman that's like chained up and like
awful. And then so you see that like Mac is getting people out of the house and the door ends up closing and he gets locked in. I was like wondering if all the dummies were coming to life because there are like multiple figures. You see multiple figures throughout. It's not just before it was just the one, it was the clown.
The clown, yeah.
But now it's like you're seeing a lot of it. All of a sudden Alex is hanging in the attic. Yeah. And Sarah and I believe Mac, it might be Tony.
I forget which one.
I forget too. But because it doesn't matter, they all die.
Yeah.
But they go up, she sees him hanging, they're screaming. It seems as if he did not want, he was hung, not that he chose to hang himself. No, get that is kind of the thing. Right. There's these masked figures who all of a sudden show up in there and then they attack. And Sarah somehow got out and she said that nothing happened between the attic and the front door. And the interviewer's like nothing happened. Like, there's all this horrible stuff. Nothing happened. She's like, yeah, nothing happened. And she's like, I don't really feel well. Sarah is saying this at this point to the interviewer, like, I would love to talk to you more. You can come find me in the hotel. I'm in room 2C. But I really, like, have you been to the house yet? And the documentary filmmaker was like, no, I haven't been yet. We're not allowed. And she's like, is that the only thing stopping you? Like, you not being allowed? Because I really think you should go. And so then it's kind of like another scene where the documentary people are kind of like arguing about whether to break in or not. And finally they decide, the cameraman and Diane, I think her name is, the interviewer.
Interviewer.
They decide they're gonna go and they're gonna make this other guy Mitchell stay back and like watch the video, the film footage. And so they go down to, I guess they're in this whole thing, they were like recording in a hotel, and they're like, oh, you know, if the lady in like 2C comes out, can you like let her know, you know, we'll be back soon. And they're like, we don't have letters here, like our rooms don't have letters, they're just numbers. And she's like, okay, well, can you look for like Sarah, whatever her last name is? And she's like, no, like she's not staying here. And the cameraman's like, you know what, she probably just gave a fake name, like we'll come back and figure it out later. So they leave, and then you see that like the next clips that come up was there's like a little screen saying like after they left, Mitchell continues to look through the footage and he finds something that's like unexplainable. So you hear that there's like crying noises happening, and you realize it's Sarah crying, and like she's running through the house, and all these figures are kind of like looking at her, but they're not like going at her. And she sees Paul, and she runs up to him and she hugs him. And this is the scene I said should be deleted because I was like, what? No, wait. Did I say
most memorable?
Wait. No. This was the most memorable. Sorry, I was like, wait, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, this
was my most memorable scene. He ends up killing her, which I was not expecting.
It's fucking crazy.
And then we watch her slowly die. It took really long. And then she was dragged away. And then Paul picks something up off the ground, slits his own throat. Then we watch him die. And it's at that point that the door gets smashed in by like the police or whatever. I was shook. I was shook. So then you see that you're like, oh my God, Sarah's dead. Like, who the heck is this person? So the documentary makers are at the hotel, like the abandoned hotel, and they go in. She's like loving it. She's giggling. It's like disrespectful.
Like, she's like, this is great. And there's like blood smears everywhere. She's like, oh,
do you see that? Do you see that? Oh my God.
This is where so and so happened. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, bro,
like, come on. That's not respectful at all. And she wants to go in the basement. And he's like, the cameraman's like, no way.
Yeah, he's like, fuck that.
So I'm noticing like there are like these things that are interesting that comes up a lot, which is like at one point Alex held up like this broken plate and he was like, this kind of looks like Sarah on it. And then there's like a framed picture of like a blonde girl crying, and that also kind of looks like Sarah. And I'm like, I wonder if that has some sort of element to it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, there is an Origins movie coming
so
out,
maybe it could have something.
I'm definitely gonna watch. I hope it's good. I know the other two are so bad.
Yeah, we'll find out. So there's like you see that there's like the body in the kitchen. They don't notice, but there is a figure in the kitchen, and they go to they go to the basement. He wants to go, so they decide to leave. You're seeing like splice footage, like there's things getting kind of like
woven.
Yeah, like. You see, like, the scene of Sarah in the car, like, flash really fast. So, like, things are happening. Mitchell calls, and she's like, I'm going to get this later. So, clearly, he sees what happened.
Yeah.
That's something that's very wrong. And at this point, she goes past, like, the rooms, and she sees, it says 2C on the room. And she's like, look, it's 2C. Didn't she say 2C? He's like, don't go in there. And it's locked on the outside. And he's like, no, don't, like, what are you doing?
Smart.
This is creepy. And so she unlocks it because she's absolutely so stupid. So she sees like Sarah sitting on the bed facing the wall. And she's like, Sarah, are you okay, sweetie? And Sarah turns and she's bleeding. And it's like how her image was when she was dying.
Right.
All of a sudden the door closes. They're locked in there. And the figures pop up.
Yeah.
And then the piano starts. You hear like piano music. And they definitely get attacked and are murdered. And the end.
Yay.
Oh my God.
Spooky.
So
it was kind of hard to pick a Halloween one because so many of them are like really graphic. Like,
I thought you were gonna pick like Beetlejuice or something. I've never seen Beetlejuice, so
have you not?
I'm not.
Oh, okay. I'll have to add that in then. I'm surprised. That's like so fun. That's not spooky.
Yeah, no, I was really hoping that we wouldn't get too spooky, but here we are.
Well,
it's fine. I was okay. But let me tell you what wasn't okay is later that night.
Oh no.
I'm laying in bed and Travis came in and brought Ruby in,
Okay.
and I hear the door close.
Okay.
So I know he went back into his office.
Yeah.
And he's playing. I end up flipping over and I open my eyes and there's a body, a figure, a silhouetted figure at the bottom of my stairs. And when I tell you, I screamed bloody murder. Like, I'm not the person, like, usually when something scares me, I, like, drop to the ground, I freeze, whatever. I literally screamed. And I was just like, no!
Oh my God.
Dude, because it literally was exactly like this freaking movie that I just finished watching. And I was like, Travis, why would you just stand here? Why would you just stand there at the bottom of the bed like a weirdo?
Oh my God.
I was freaking out. And he was just like, I was just waiting for you to notice me. I was like, yeah, well, you don't realize you just recreated a scene from this horrible movie I just watched.
He's such an asshole.
Dude, he clearly was it him. I think in his head he was doing something innocent. I don't know why, because it doesn't feel very innocent at all. But it was absolutely I swear, I really like that. My heart was pounding out of I could feel. I was like, I think this is what a heart attack feels like.
I would have peed my pants.
Yeah, it was so scary.
Oh my God.
It was really bad. He's lucky I didn't like kick him in the throat because
fair.
And he was like, you wouldn't be able to do that. I was like, I'm a black pill cry.
You seem to have forgotten. I have the power in this relationship. But no, that's...
Yeah, it was really bad. It was absolutely horrible.
Oh my God.
So, main character smash or pass. I said I would smash everyone but Alex.
Yeah, that's fair.
Even... Actually,
Paul... I think I would pass on...
Actually, I feel like Paul... Now that I'm thinking about it, Paul was kind of skeevy, but at the same time, they were like... He was kind of cute.
He was kind of cute.
But he was definitely misogynistic. I guess. Yeah. But like...
I think the safer ones would probably be
Mac and Tony. Tony, I definitely thought was super cute. Yeah. Tony would be number one.
Yeah.
And then probably Mac.
On the tier pyramid.
Yeah. And then probably non-demonic Sarah.
Yeah.
Then Paul.
Then demonic Sarah.
Then demonic Sarah. Then Alex.
Yeah, that's good.
And then main villain, I said pass. I'm not about to get going with a clown or any of those figures. How likely are you to survive in this situation? 1.
Yeah.
I for sure would be dead. Everyone died. Even if I was going to a haunted house, like I would be the person who got stuck under that rack that fell over.
Yeah.
Let me
get trapped somehow.
Let me tell you, this is one of those stories that when I think about it, it actually makes my skin crawl from being so embarrassed.
Oh no.
Because when I was little, I begged and begged. We were at the boardwalk and there was a haunted house and we begged my parents. It was very expensive to get enough tickets for us to go.
Yeah.
And I was like, please, please, please. All I wanted to go into this haunted house. And I don't know what possessed me to think that I could do it.
This is why you're traumatized as an adult.
So we went into this haunted house. My parents paid probably like $30 or whatever to get us all in, which was a big deal for us.
Yeah.
And we go in and my little sister like jumped and got scared at like very early on. And I was like, we need to go. We need to leave. Excuse me. We would like to leave now. We're very scared. And they literally escorted us out of an emergency exit. And my mom was like, we spent $30 for you to spend 2 minutes in that freaking house.
Oh my God.
Literally, I think about it and I'm so uncomfortable. I don't know. I was like 8 or 9. I was very young.
We need to get out.
But I was like, excuse me, creepy clown man, please escort us from this building.
Oh my God.
Just the only thing I want to do is go back in time and not want to go into the haunted house or to make myself continue through. But I just feel like I should never have gone in the first place.
Oh my God.
So maybe that's when I stopped caring about scary things.
Dude.
Anyway, so I would definitely not be in the line there in the first place. Yeah. But if I was, I would definitely die.
Yeah, I definitely don't trust.
I would be like, someone escort me out of this house.
I need to be escorted out. I do not trust haunted houses like that.
No.
I'm like, I don't know who runs this.
No.
I don't. No.
LLC doesn't sound very safe to me.
Nope. No.
Not interested.
There's one in Philly, and it's like in an alley, and it's just like,
shut up.
Dude, it is the sketchiest looking thing.
No, that's so creepy. Someone's gonna actually shiv you.
Yeah,
in
Dom,
Philly?
Yeah, and Dom was like, oh, we should go. And I'm like, oh.
You're likely to get some random dude who just, like, decides he's part of the party.
There's just fucking crackheads in there. I'm like, I don't know who's in there.
No, absolutely not.
No.
Absolutely not.
No.
I forgot to circle if I would recommend to a non-horror fan, but I think we can all know that I would say no.
That's fair.
Hey, Mom, do you want to have some fun?
This is spooky.
Yes. Some things of note. It was filmed at an actual haunted house attraction.
Oh.
So, and that's who, like, the set designer basically was the person who runs the haunted house. And, they were originally hoping to find an actual abandoned place, which just feels like you're hoping for something horrible to happen. Yeah. So the thing in reverse, so I'm just skipping past the things I already said, but the thing that she says in reverse is, when I got to the front door, the police were arriving.
Oh.
Isn't that...
That's pretty cool. That's spooky. That's spooky.
So it is like her actual voice that they just like recorded and played backwards over. Yeah. So it sounded like she was kind of speaking in tongues.
Yeah.
But I knew immediately. I was like, that's the reverse.
It's reverse.
I know a good reverse sound when I hear one.
That's spooky.
Yes. And everything else in my notes section I talked about.
Okay.
So I gave it 3.75.
Okay.
I thought it was really good. And like, I genuinely, like, in some ways I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I thought it was well done. I thought the acting was really well done. Like, I actually was impressed by the acting. I was convinced. None of it felt like overacted in any way, which I thought was like impressive.
Yeah. I think the scares were like subtle enough to just make you uneasy.
Yes.
Like just the clown just appearing, you know, on the steps, and it's just like, you know, nothing.
Yes.
I mean, the girl crawling up. Oh. No. But like, it was like, I think the scares were good. I was like, okay, you know.
Yeah. It was definitely good.
Yeah.
It doesn't get higher because I don't.
Yeah. I also honestly I did not like the end with like the mask, the figures.
Yeah,
I think like
weird.
Yeah, it was a little weird. It was a little like anticlimactic. Like especially in the basement. I'm like, are they cultists? I don't.
Right. I think that I think part of it is they're hinting at like the cult of Andrew Tully was real, and that they're coming back, and there's a portal to hell that was opened in the basement, which. Whatever. I liked it better if the masked figures hadn't come into it.
Yeah.
If it just stayed being the weird clown, the weird possessed clown, or maybe Paul or something like that. Like that.
Just possessed.
I do think that scary movies that leave a little bit to the imagination are more successful in those elements where it's like, if you over explain things to me.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's just like what the thing that makes a scary movie scary is when you don't know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, that's literally the worst part of all things in life is not knowing.
Not knowing, yeah.
So,
I think that's why the other two movies are not as good, because I think they just over-explain a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I think one of them is, like, another, like, it's like a sequel, like, that happens in the same location or a similar location, and then the other one, like, kind of has some sort of, like, back and forth.
Yeah.
I don't know. So it's, not as good. I think this one just, you know, he did a good job with, you know, kind of like a lower budget, just some cool little scares, and it's, you know, got very popular, and then but
it was interesting, and I like liked the way, I think that mockumentary things can like be hit or miss sometimes, and I did feel like it was done well.
Cool. I'm happy you liked it.
I mean, I wouldn't say I liked it.
Little spooks for you.
Yeah, it was.
Well, now I know you haven't watched Beetlejuice, so.
Yes.
Which is crazy.
Feel free to give me something lighthearted at any point.
Yeah, well, the next one will be a little more lighthearted.
I sure hope so. I watched when I was rewatching the movie that I'm about to recommend to you, and I was like, I don't feel like I enjoyed it that much. I was like, oh my god, what if I am starting to like horror movies? I was like, no, don't do this to me.
We're just swapping.
Yeah,
we're eventually gonna recommend the other movie to each other.
Yeah. You start recommending romance to me. I would love to be someone who could handle watching horror as often as you do, but I will never be that person. So, next week's recommendations. Again, we're going to do a little snapshot reading as we go. So, would you like to go first? Because I just did so much.
Sure, of course. Drink your water.
Thank you.
So, the movie I'm recommending to Megan is called Prey. And my snapshot.
Oh, God. Prey. That sounds so scary.
No. You'll like it.
Prey.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
All I can think of, you know what it reminds me of, is Stephanie Meyer's Host. I don't know why immediately that's what I went to.
I mean,
you should have made me watch that one. It wouldn't fit with the theme, but it's fine.
I remember like trying to read that and I just could not. I think I read the first one.
Nothing compares to Twilight.
I mean, of course. Anyway, so my snapshot for Prey is a prequel to the Predator series.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, I figured you didn't. It's okay.
That's the one with the apes, right? No, wait, that's Planet of the Apes. Planet of the Apes.
Oh my god. No, Predator's the one with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I don't know.
Okay, it's fine. You don't have to. I figured you haven't.
Okay.
You don't have to watch this.
Okay, great. I could imagine if I had to watch 2 movies in one go.
You'd have to watch no,
I can't.
Okay, anyway, it's a prequel to the Predator series. A Comanche warrior, sorry if I mispronounced that, finds herself fighting to survive against an alien who hunts human for sport. It's cool.
Okay. The one, you've definitely heard of the one that
oh my god,
I'm recommending for you.
Okay.
And I was gonna maybe pick other ones, but I didn't have that much time to do research for it. But anyway, what I'm picking for you, Sweet Home Alabama.
Oh, this is a classic one, right?
Yeah, you haven't seen it though, right?
No.
Yeah, it's a classic, so I feel like it's good that you are watching it, but also rewatching it, I was like, this is a little problematic.
Oh no. Yeah. Love it. Love that.
Yeah, I mean it's set in the South, so 1 + 1 = 2.
Sorry to our fans in the South.
Yeah, sorry. 1% of you. Okay, so Reese Witherspoon is an up-and-coming fashion designer who gets engaged to her rich boyfriend on the night of her big show. Before they can get married, she needs to finalize the divorce with her secret ex-husband back in Alabama.
Oh my god.
I know.
What drama. Okay.
So much drama.
Okay.
I can't wait.
Okay.
I'm excited. Reach out on social with suggestions for movies or themes. You can find us at howdoyouwatchthis@gmail.com. How do you watch us on Insta and Threads? How do you watch on TikTok? Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next week.
Bye.